when you have days with a lot more gratitude than you do expectations, you have some really good days.
Yeah.
I don't have to smoke dope. I don't have to do all this crazy crap.
We can smoke dope if you want to. I mean, I
can now that I'm not in the fire department. Yeah. I was waiting for him to tell me to shut up. And he handed me that 40 answer and he said, "Here, you need this more than I do."
I am the modern day Johnny Carson, right, Jason?
You know, you reach this point in life where you're more concerned about time than you are money.
Yeah.
So I try to make every day count. Try to make every minute count. And
pointed in or flat in.
Man, I'm homicidal. I'm suicidal, and I'm constipated. I said,
what a combination. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
So am I.
Yeah, honey, I'm the bogey biker, and you know I'm here to stay.
I should probably start with the assumption that some of you are new to the channel. My name is Jack, and I'm the Bogey Biker. I've described the channel as a motovlog docu-comedy because we like to ride to some cool places and meet cool people and just have a good time. I ride with a group of friends, and we call ourselves the Rusty Bolts. But our bond is motorcycles, good food, good music, good cigars, good whiskey. What else?
Don't ask me, that covers it.
Yeah. But we've gotten so much interest as we've gone along in the characters that make up the Rusty Bolts. So we started a podcast, and the podcast is called Between the Bikes. And the first series we're doing on the podcast is called Meet the Rusty Bolts. And this is episode 3. If you haven't seen episode 1 or 2, I encourage you to go back and look at those 2. All right, joining me tonight is Mike. Welcome, Mike.
Glad to be here.
Also known as the Prez. He loves when I call him Prez. I call Mike the Prez because I would consider you the linchpin of this whole Rusty Bolts phenomenon. And I call him the Prez of the Rusty Bolts, even though the Rusty Bolts is not an official club of any sort yet, anyway, right?
Right.
I don't think we'd all be doing this without your involvement.
Well, it just sort of happened, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes the best things that are the most fun things you can do just happen,
Yeah.
you know? And this all started with the motorcycles, obviously. I've loved motorcycles my entire life. I'm 68 years old, and I've loved motorcycles since I can remember.
Yeah.
And this sort of developed when Rich, my neighbor from California, which that's a whole nother story.
Well, they met Rich last week.
Yeah, he talked him into buying a bike, or I talked his wife, Michelle, into helping him search for a bike, and he bought one, and man, it's been going great ever since.
A year ago, did you think you'd be a guest on a motorcycle podcast on the YouTubes?
Not at all. Not at all. I've watched a lot of YouTubes on these guys that ride a lot, but I never thought I'd be in one.
So let's talk about that, because I think before all this, you and I were probably the biggest consumers of motorcycle content on YouTube, as I understand it. I watch YouTube all the time nowadays, and I think you did too. So who are some of your favorite YouTubers after the Bogey Biker, of course?
Well, obviously, yeah. Well, honestly, one of my favorites is Adam Sandoval, who my wife started following long before I did because of the dog, because of, I forgot the dog's name. Scooter.
Yeah.
God,
Scooter.
Edit that. Anyway, and she told me, she said, you need to watch this guy who rides a Harley, and he's taking these cross-country trips with this little dog. I said, yeah, I'll get around to it one of these days, you know. And then when I finally started watching it, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I followed him for a long time, and Scooter Tramp, Scotty, and man, there's a host of them that I like to follow. And it's just intriguing. It's just fascinating to me how those guys can ride like that. And I always dreamed of being able to do that kind of stuff, even from when I was 8 or 10 years old.
I think my mother kind of blames you for getting Jay into motorcycles, which in turn got me into motorcycles.
Well, that's probably true, but it's really Rich Borkowski's fault that Jay got into motorcycles. I just kind of came along with that.
Yeah.
But to this day, when I see your mom, I'm expecting to get a slap or a punch in the nose or something. But It's fun too. But yeah, hopefully she's okay with it.
She is. You know, your kids are they're a little bit younger than me.
Right.
So Mike is really my parents' generation, and that's not
Correct.
an insult, but so I've hung around your older kids some growing up, and used to hang around your brother a lot, your younger brother. But we didn't really know each other until recently when we started riding together. You've known my brother better than me because y'all were firemen together in the Waco Fire Department. But I've really appreciated getting to know you like this, and with our common bond, our love for motorcycles. It's really been a true pleasure to me to get to know you on a real level.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Like I said earlier, I loved motorcycles my whole life, and when you guys started getting involved in it, that gave us, like you said, a common bond, and it's been nothing but fun and good since then, and we can relate to something, even though I'm 15, 18 years older than you.
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing.
20.
It's fun. 20. I'm sorry.
19.
Golly.
Something like that. We'll be 50 this year.
Okay, 18.
Yeah, okay.
Don't stretch it.
So how long? So I'm a new rider, as my loyal followers know, but you new subscribers hopefully may not know. But I just started riding less than a year ago. But Mike's been riding a long time. How long have you been riding motorcycles?
Well, I got my first motorcycle when I was about 12.
Yeah.
So that would have been about 1967. And my dad bought me a 65cc Yamaha, and I thought, man, I had gone everywhere on a bicycle that I could get to, but now I've got a motorcycle that stretches my horizons right there, so I can go.
Yeah.
And if it was within 50 miles of Crawford, I went there on that old motorcycle, 65cc Yamaha. And then I really stepped up the game when I was about 14. I had worked one whole summer on my dad's little farm, and I'd saved me up enough money. I bought a brand new 1969 90cc Kawasaki. And I thought, man, that even steps the horizon a little further out. I can really go then. And a couple of my buddies, they had gotten bikes, so we had us a little group there in Crawford, and we rode everywhere we went. Made no difference what the weather was, what time of the year, or what time of the day. We were going on those motorcycles. And a little funny story, I kept that bike. I still have it today. And when it quit running, it had 33,000 miles on that 90cc two-stroke Kawasaki. Of course, my little brother that you mentioned, he rode it after I got a little older and started getting bigger bikes. And then as I got married and had kids, and they got old enough, they started
so everybody
riding
rode it.
Everybody rode it. I still got it. A lot of people won't believe it, but I've got a picture of that speedometer, a little over 33,000 miles on a 90cc.
Does it still run?
No, it quit running several years ago. Someday when I get too old to ride, then I may try to restore that thing and see if we can make that happen. But yeah, that was a good bike.
So what's your favorite motorcycle of all time? Did you say how many motorcycles you've had?
I think I counted up the other night, I think I've had 18 different motorcycles, and I've had them all. Yeah. Just what I could afford. You know, as I got older and got married and had kids, I couldn't afford what I wanted. So I've had Hondas, Yamahas. I've had the Honda 754s, the 650 Yamahas. I had a Gold Wing, or Gold Wang, as we call it. But I wasn't able to afford the Harleys until about 30 years ago. And I finally broke into owning Harleys with an old 1977 Super Glide, no shovel head. I thought, man, this is it. I've got what I wanted. And man, that thing was a hard motorcycle to ride, beat you to death, and you had to work on it all the time. But that got me started in the Harleys. But just to give you an example of what got me into motorcycles, when I was about 12 or 14, I already had one or two of those little bikes, and I'd rode to Waco with some older cousins of mine in their car, one of the older cousins there. We were going to do the drag, which was on Austin Avenue at the time. It still hadn't moved out to Valley Mills Drive. It was still up down Austin Avenue. So here I am, 12 or 14 years old. You were born about that time. we were cruising up and down Austin Avenue in the summer, Friday night, windows were down, everybody was on the streets, cars, hot rods, motorcycles everywhere, and we stopped at a red light. And this bike pulled up next to me, right outside the window, and I looked over there, and it was a replica of the Easy Rider Captain America chopper. It was a chromed out pan head Harley, had the American flag gas tank, chrome from one end to the other. And I literally stopped breathing while I was sitting there looking at that motorcycle. I mean, I could almost reach out and touch it, you know, and I thought, geez, this is it, you know, and man, from that moment on, and he took off that red light and run through those 4 gears, and that thing sounded like music to my ears, you know. I said, I'm hooked here, you know, this is it. And shortly thereafter, there was a TV series that came out on NBC. It was called oh my God!
What year are we talking?
69.
Yeah, I know.
Michael Parks was the star. His girlfriend was Bonnie Bonetta. He's actually the one that came out with that saying, "Hang in there."
Yeah.
He's actually the one that came out with that because he pulled up beside a guy at a red light, and this guy in the car was in a suit and tie and everything, going to work, and he asked this old boy where he was going. He said just anywhere the wind would take him. And the guy said, yeah, I wish I could do that. And he says, well, hang in there. You know. Then came Bronson. That was it.
Yeah.
Then came Bronson, Michael Parks. And he had, supposedly the theme of the show, he had inherited this motorcycle from a brother who had died or had committed suicide. Anyway, it was a Sportster. And he just strapped a bedroll on the back of that thing and took off. You know, just like I said, wherever the wind would take him, that's where he went. And each week it was a different show. And, you know, he would take that old Sportster and he'd strip it down and he'd win hill climbs with it. Or he'd tune it just right and he'd win oval track races, you know, this old Harley Sportster. Man, I loved that show, and I thought even then at 12 or 14 years old, that's the kind of stuff I'd like to do, just take off on that motorcycle and see where we go.
Yeah.
And ever since then, that's what I've wanted to do. Yeah. Finally getting to do it.
Finally. Well, but you've ridden before. I mean, you've been riding forever, but you haven't ridden with a group like this, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is and I know y'all get tired of me saying this, but I have looked for this for my whole adult life. You know, I tried to ride with a group of guys back in the 70s, and they were more interested in smoking weed and stuff like that, so that wasn't going to work out for me. And so anyway, I pretty much rode by myself until you guys all started getting into it, you know, and man, this has worked out great. I love it. You know, we get to go and do that kind of stuff. And I'm at the point in my life now where, you know, I'm retired from the fire department. I've got a pretty good pension, and I've got time, and you know, you reach this point in life where you're more concerned about time than you are money.
Yeah.
So I try to make every day count. Try to make every minute count. And man, riding with the Rusty Bolts is it's exactly what I've always wanted to do. Finally.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have a favorite of all the rides we've been on? If it was the whole group or just you and Gerald, or do you have a favorite trip or so far?
We haven't had a bad trip yet ever. You know, they've all been good. Some of them have been a little rougher than others, like weather and first one thing and another. But man, they've all been great. I've had a blast on every one of them. The day trips, the multi-day trips, they're just fun. But I guess our West Texas to East Texas trip was probably the most memorable one. I think we rode about 2,700 miles in 7 or 8 days and never got out of Texas, you know, and we saw some cool stuff and met a ton of really neat people, and it's the little spur of the moment things that just make it all worthwhile, you know.
So, but you started here in Central Texas and went where?
Well, we left here and went out to Alpine was our first place to stay because we wanted to ride the Davis Mountain, Big Bend National Park area.
It's about 8 hours between here and the first stop, right?
Right. And so we made it out there fine, got into a little rain getting there, but that wasn't a big problem. And we rode out there for a couple of days and covered all that country, and then we decided we headed more towards South Texas, down through Comstock and that area down in there. It's pretty desolate, Pecos River area.
Yeah.
And cool riding. I mean, that Highway 95 down there, we rode for probably 4 or 5, 6 hours and might have seen 2 other cars, you know, on that 2-lane highway. Man, that was great. You could almost go to sleep riding that motorcycle. Yeah. And we went down through Galveston and the Houston area, Beaumont area, ended up over in East Texas, over near the Louisiana border, and saw some stuff over there that we wanted to see. And we even stayed an extra day on the lake over there that we had got an Airbnb on, and just stayed an extra day over there just so we could enjoy it a little bit more. But that's probably the most memorable.
So we got several, I know, loyal followers that are firemen. So tell me about that. When did you start at the Waco Fire Department?
Well, let me put it this way. I got married on a Friday night. I started the Waco Fire Department Monday morning.
Wow. What made you want to be a fireman? I mean, what did...
Well, in this little old community of Crawford, we had a volunteer fire department. My granddad and my dad were the volunteer fire chiefs, so I kind of grew up involved in that sort of thing. And then we had some Waco firemen to move out to Crawford, and I got to be friends with them, and I talked to them about it a lot, and I thought, man, this would be cool if I could just continue doing something that I kind of liked. And so I went to work Waco Fire Department at 21 years old in 1977, and I stayed there 42 years. And a lot of those young guys, when they would find out how long I'd been there, I'd tell them, I was first in on the burning bush. So it was a long career, but I loved it. I loved that job, that adrenaline rush every day, and oftentimes you'd get to take somebody's worst nightmare and try to make it better. So it was a really, really rewarding career. I was lucky to get that job. And
42 years, that's
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I knew it was time to retire. We were working a house fire, and I tripped over a hose out in the front yard and fell flat on my face, had an air pack on and everything, and 4 or 5 of those guys come running over there to help me up, see if I broke a hip or not. So
that's sort of the thing when you get older, you break a hip.
Of course, they were just giving me crap about it, but I could still outwork most of them. But anyway, I knew then it was probably time, so it was good. It was a good 42 years.
My grandmother taught Mike in high school, taught him tapping. Is that right?
Absolutely. I love that woman to death. I give her credit for teaching me more things that I needed to know than anybody up there. She
was the coolest lady.
She was. Like I said, I loved her to death. She taught me how to type, and I was good at it. Because I wanted to impress her. I could type 60 words a minute with no mistakes on a manual typewriter. And
can you now?
No.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But when I got in the fire department, we first started going over to computer systems and stuff. I was one of the few guys that knew how to type.
Yeah.
I mean, those old guys didn't know how to type.
Yeah.
So they had me doing all their reports and all that kind of stuff, which didn't pay me extra, but it was something I could do. But she was a great lady. I really enjoyed her.
What's a place if we had to pick a spot this year to go ride in the U.S., where would you want to go?
Whoa. I'd like to go up in the Rocky Mountains. I want to ride some of those, like the $1 Million Highway between Durango and Silverton, all that area up in there, anywhere in the Rocky Mountains is where I love the mountains. I love snow skiing.
Yeah.
So anywhere in the mountains on a motorcycle, I could
Have you been much out of Texas on your motorcycle?
No, really haven't. Other than that little bit over in Louisiana, we made that on that one trip. We got over on the east side of Texas, but no. Oh yeah, I went to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Kind of like to forget about that one. Had a little spill.
Yeah.
Up there in Arkansas, and I was trying to keep up with these other guys, and went into a curve a little too fast, and there was some cooking oil or something had spilled in the road, and I was braking. Man, when I hit that stuff.
Is that what you think it was? Because I want to learn. You think you were hitting the back brake?
Yeah, I was hitting the back brake.
As you're turning?
As I was going into the turn, because these guys.
Which I do that too.
Well, you know, these guys are pretty good at cornering. They can corner a whole lot better than I can at my age. So I was playing catch up between curves, you know. So I was running into this corner pretty fast, and I had the rear brake on, a little bit of front brake, but not much. Yeah. And when I hit that spot, it's about as big, about a 2 or 3 foot square. And to this day, I still don't know what it was, but it was slicker than ice. Yeah. And that rear end went out from under me, and I went down, slid into the guardrail. And luckily it wasn't hurt, did minimal damage to my motorcycle. I was able to finish the trip on it. And but yeah, it was, I saw it, and as I got to it, it looked a little suspicious, but I didn't think it was what it was. And man, when I hit that, down I went in a heartbeat.
Did you just go down, or did you go over?
It slid down on the left side, and I slid through the grass, and when I hit the guardrail, it threw me over the handlebars. And it landed back out in the road, and I never stopped moving. I hit the ground, rolled right back up, because I thought, man, I had tore my motorcycle up right here.
That's what you're thinking? You're not thinking, what? I mean, it hurts to fall at 49 years old. I can't believe you didn't get hurt.
I didn't feel a thing at that moment, because I thought I was screwed up here. Yeah. You know. Luckily, it was, like I said, it was minimal damage, and I wasn't hurt at all. I think I had one scratch on my hand. But yeah, that was the only time I've ever gone down bad on one.
Y'all went to Minnesota, didn't you?
Yeah, we hauled our bikes. Rich and Michelle and me and Shirley hauled our bikes up to Minnesota to a friend of theirs up there, and we left the truck and trailer there and stayed with them a few days, and then they had bikes, and we packed up and rode all the way to the Canadian border up there to International Falls, and stayed in a Airbnb on the lake up there for 2 or 3 days, and rode that part of the country. And man, that's beautiful. I never realized, you know, the land of 1,000 lakes was that pretty. I mean, it's really cool. It's pretty. Some national forests and stuff. And of course, we went up there during COVID, so we didn't go across the border. I was afraid, well, I don't even know if it was open. It probably wasn't even open at that time. But we ate at a little old cafe bar thing there on the water, and I mean, we're right there on the border. It was really cool. That was fun. That was a good trip.
But outside of those, you hadn't really been outside of Texas?
Nope. No.
We are going to the Stubborn American Rally in June in Oklahoma, which is out of Texas. So if any of you are going to that, look us up. Mike and I may be the only ones camping. Mike likes to tent camp on his motorcycle. Rich and the others in the audience here don't, but we have enough campsites for all of us to stay, but we might get us a house too. But you enjoy camping off of your bike, and you'll just go by yourself and
I do
take a trip.
Back before you guys got interested in bikes, that's what I was doing. I was going solo tent camping, and it's basically backpacking equipment. You know, everything you can strap on a motorcycle. I look like a gypsy moving a couple of times.
Like Scooter Tramp Scotty.
Yeah. But I'd pick out a state park I hadn't been to, and I think there's 92 or 93 state parks in Texas.
Yeah.
And so
is that right? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's a bunch. And I just pick me one I haven't been to and go. Yeah. You know, it may be 2 hours away, maybe 6 or 8 hours away, and I'd go set up my camp and do my own cooking. I'd take food or go buy food. You know, I'd steak and potatoes and Brussels sprouts. I did it breakfast. You know. Those guys that come out of those campers and stuff that I was near, and they smell that bacon, and a lot of times they you got enough for all of us. But that's fun. I enjoy doing that because I rode some of the areas around those state parks, and then I did some hiking, and man, I just had a good time. One time in particular, I went to a state park, and there was travel trailers everywhere, and there was 2 old boys over there next to me, and I started unpacking that motorcycle and setting up. They brought their lawn chairs over there and just sat down and watched me. And so then they wanted to know the story. They wanted to know where I was from, where I'd been, where was I going, you know. And I was only a couple 100 miles from home at the time. I kind of, I said, yeah, I'm not too far from here. But it's fun stuff.
Does your wife Shirley like to ride, or she just go with you because you love to ride?
She enjoys it. She's not big on the trips, the big trips, but day rides and stuff like that. And she likes the camaraderie of it all, and it's just fun. She enjoys it. I mean, she does. She rode with me quite a few times back before we all got together, and it's relaxing. In fact, I can always tell how relaxed she is because we've got the intercoms and she'll stop talking. And then the next thing I know, I feel her helmet hit me in the back. So I know she's gotten pretty relaxed at that point. But and I got to give her a lot of credit in all this. She has put up with me for 30 years, and she has supported me in all the stuff that I've wanted to do, and some of it was good and some of it wasn't so good. But she's always supported me, and I love her to death. And I gotta give her a public thank you for putting up with me that long, because I'm one of those people that needs adult supervision. So yeah, she's been a good one.
Well, Mike and Shirley get the award for most grandkids in the Rusty Bolts, I believe. How many grandkids do you have?
14.
14 grandkids. So in between riding motorcycles, Mike's at softball games and basketball games and choir concerts. And
right now we're in basketball season, so we've got 3 of them playing basketball, and it's always different towns, and a lot of times it's all on Saturdays. So and baseball season's just around the corner. I got several of them into baseball, and some of the granddaughters are playing softball, and they're doing great. I really love watching those girls play softball because they're doing good. And football season, it's always track. It's something all the time. Concerts. I got a granddaughter that can sing, so she's playing the guitar and singing lots of places. And man, it's fun.
Wait a minute. He's understating that. Do you know her TikTok handle? I'll put it here somewhere.
Tinley Adair.
Tinley Adair. Go find Tinley Adair on TikTok. Is she on anything? Instagram probably too. I'll put where she's on. She's not just a good singer. It's unbelievable. Isn't it unbelievable? Her voice, when she starts singing, you're like,
she's good.
Wow.
Yeah, she's
I've signed up to be her agent if she would have me.
She's had over 1 million views on some of her TikTok videos. Megan Maroney even commented on one of her TikToks, and I guarantee you that girl, she can make me cry. She starts singing those old country songs. Oh my God!
I know.
Wow,
it's a special.
She gets to me. But that's I got a big group of grandkids, and a little backstory there. Shirley and I blended a family in 1994, and we had 7 kids between us. Everybody told us we were crazy, but I didn't care. I knew what she was. You know, I knew I had a good one. So we blended that family, and at one point there, we had all 7 kids as teenagers. From 13 to 19 at one.
Oh, they were all that
year.
close. I didn't know that.
They were all that close. They were all friends in school.
Years. Yeah.
Wow. They were all friends in school before we got married, and so that all worked out. Really, that surprisingly they all got along good, and that was all great. But there was a period of time there that I don't have a whole lot of memory. There was a lot of a blur. You know, I don't know how many used cars I bought, how many body shops we had cars in, but I had to, when I backed out of the parking lot in the morning, I had to look to see if there was somebody parked behind me. But man, it was great. They all turned out well. They're all good, adjusted adults, and they all have good jobs, and they're raising all their kids here close by. And my farthest granddaughters are maybe 45 minutes away.
That's a unique thing, because most people don't get that.
That's right.
To be that close to their grandkids. And
That's exactly
their
right.
Children. And
I was really surprised after they graduated and went off different places to college. First one thing to another, I thought, they're going to be scattered all over the country, but they've all come back to Central Texas to raise their kids.
Yeah.
And man, we are blessed. I'm not kidding. I love it. I love seeing all those kids. We've got them from 6 to 23 right now. I don't have any great grandkids, but that's on the horizon. But man, it's great. I love watching them play ball, and it's good. It's a good thing.
Life is good.
Yep.
Yeah. So with Toby Keith dying the other day, I've been watching a lot of that, and his song "Don't Let the Old Man In."
Oh my God.
It's weird. It hit me differently, and I've been thinking about you. We joke you're the oldest Rusty Bolt, but you're 68. Mm-hmm. How long? I mean, I know you want to ride forever. Do you think about that?
All the time.
All the time?
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, at 68, you know, I know my reaction time's not as good as it used to be, and so I got to kind of compensate for some of that stuff, and I see maybe 5 more years before I may have to seriously look at it. So I struggle with that. You know, that's the downside.
Do you really feel your reaction time?
Yeah.
It's a conscious feeling you have.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. And my concentration's not what it was when I was 30, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that as far as my philosophy of life right now,
Yeah.
that has changed over the years as I got older. But one thing I think about a lot, it comes from a Ray Wiley Hubbard song, that when you have days with a lot more gratitude than you do expectations, you have some really good days.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I try to remember that all the time. And then that very thing, I think that came from a Clint Eastwood quote when they were playing golf.
Yeah.
And
I think it was a song in a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
he said, "Don't let the old man in."
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's me right now. I'm gonna fight it till the end. That's one thing I like about hanging out with you young guys, because that keeps me kind of young in a mental way. And I try to think about all that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go until I can't.
Yeah. It's funny, in some circles I'm the old man, and in this circle I'm the young guy. But so it's kind of
Exactly.
interesting how that works. But.
Well, like I've said before, and I know you guys get tired of hearing it, but man, I love doing this. This is what I wanted to do my whole life, and now I'm finally getting to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I've got time, and I've got enough money to keep things going, and not a lot of responsibility at this point. So, man, I'm ready to ride.
Well, the people on YouTube love you. They can see what a genuine person you are. It comes across on camera, and
Even though I sound like cornbread.
we all hate our voices on camera. I don't think I have an accent until I actually hear myself on camera, and then damn, I sound like Gomer Pyle.
Used to in the fire department, a lot of those guys didn't want to do interviews with the news channels, and you know, I was dumb enough to think, okay, I could do this. So they'd send the dang news crews over to me, and man, I'd tell them my best stories about what happened, and it comes back to kind of think, well, maybe I should have kept my mouth shut. Anyway,
Well, on that note, in honor of Toby Keith, and the theme of "Don't Let the Old Man In," we're gonna have a little toast to not letting the old man in. And I think you do a good job of that.
thanks. I appreciate that.
And I'm also having the time of my life, and I appreciate being a part of this group. And like I said, you're the linchpin behind it all. So cheers to not letting the old man in.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Cheers.
A few years ago, I think I'd already retired from the fire department, but we were snow skiing up in Wolf Creek, and it was the last run of the day. We call it the 3:59 because they close at 4. And I was coming down a run, and I saw a set of skis over off the trail, and they were crossed. You know, like that's kind of odd. You know, if somebody had stopped and just taken their skis off, they usually leave them straight. You know. And I got to looking, and I said, man, I might ought to go over there and see if I can find, you know, maybe somebody needs something. So I moved on over next to where the skis were, and I could hear this guy moaning. And he had fallen down in a tree well, and that's when the snow is really deep and it melts away from the trees enough that it creates a well. And I got over there and I looked down in there, and there was a guy crumbled up around the bottom of that tree trunk. He was about 6 feet deep down in that.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, in that
I've
tree
never
well.
heard that story.
And his skis had come off when he hit the tree, and he had fallen down in that ski well. And I said, man, I said, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And he was semi-conscious. He was moaning. And so I got on my phone. I was able to call Shirley, who was down at the lodge, and she notified the ski patrol. and they started up with their stuff. But I couldn't get to him. He was a good 6 feet down. I couldn't even touch him. And two guys came in there, and I told them what the deal was, and I said, look, I'm a retired firefighter or EMT. I said, if you need help, I'm willing to help. And they said, yeah, we're gonna need help. So they started digging this guy out, and they dug down where we could get to him. And it took all three of us to pull him up out of that tree well. And he had separated his shoulder and had a concussion, and he ended up being okay. But we got him down the mountain, took him in the ambulance to the hospital, and I got, like 6 years after that, I got a Christmas card from that guy.
Is that right?
Thanking me because I was probably the last one down that run. I don't know
How
that there
long
was
was he
anybody.
there?
He wasn't there long, maybe 10 minutes at the most, because everybody.
But if
was
you're the
cleared.
last one, if you don't stop,
He'd have probably died. He'd have probably frozen to
Golly.
death. I'm sure somebody down there would have, that some of the group that he was with would have probably gotten concerned about him. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was already, sun was going down, and it was one of those deals where I don't know that he would have survived a night in that hole.
gosh.
But yeah, he sent a Christmas card for about 6 years in a row. He was a realtor over in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Pretty young guy. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s. But I thought, man, if I wouldn't have seen that guy's skis and thought that was a little bit awkward, just being the fireman thing, that it might have turned out different.
So, what do you think about the Rusty Bolt song?
I tell you, the first time I heard it, I cried. I did.
The first time I heard it, you know what I texted Jay?
Yeah.
I said, Mike's gonna cry because I'm crying.
I did, and that's one thing I've learned. The older I get, the more emotional I think I get. But when I heard that, I thought, "Oh my God,
I know.
this is more than I can handle."
I listen to it now, and I clip, especially when I clip the videos in of us riding somewhere,
Yes,
and then you watch it back.
I know.
It's dang sure emotional.
This Rusty Bolt till I die. I mean, that's like I've said before.
Yeah.
For 55 years, this is what I wanted to do.
I know.
And finally,
I know.
I'm getting to do it.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you being here.
Sure.
In my wildest dreams a year ago, I wouldn't have thought you and I would be sitting here filming a podcast
Isn't that the
for
truth?
YouTube with so much interest in what we're doing. Isn't it cool?
It's cool. It's great. I tell you, I don't know how anybody couldn't like
I know.
what we got going.
And we wouldn't be doing it without all our loyal subscribers and followers. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Don't let the old man in.
I was born to be a rusty bolt. I'll be one till I die.